Good morning, and I join you from mid-Wales, and welcome to another video. So, me and Pops,
good morning,
are in matching jackets, I've just realised.
Yeah, we look like twins except I have the heavy paper round.
Oh God, I didn't know we were in matching jackets. Hey, anyway, we're in mid-Wales. We've come down to Giggering Farm, and we're booked into Giggering Farm in two of the different hides over the next 2 days. But whilst we're down in Giggering Farm, obviously, for those of you who don't know what Giggering Farm is, it's a red kite feeding station. And so for red kite feeding stations, it's afternoon action. And we didn't want to miss out and waste a morning, so we've got up nice and early this morning, and we're heading down to the Elan Valley, and we're going to go and explore the River Wye, and hopefully might get a photograph of a dipper or two, possibly red start. There's also pied flycatchers. So 3 species that I don't have huge quantities of photographs of. Have photographed dippers before down in Dovedale. But something a bit different, and definitely not a wasting our time. You know, staying in the lodge in the morning and having a sleepy lie-in. Although this morning I could probably have done with it. So come along for the journey and see what I see. So we've just arrived down at the River Wye. The visitor centre is closed at the minute.
River Elan.
Oh, it is the River Elan. It's not the River Wye. It merges into the River Wye further down just before it flows into Riada. Or my friend at work, he's Welsh, and he did teach me how to say Riada, but I've forgotten. So Riada it'll have to be. Apologies to any Welsh followers who will know that I've said that wrong. As we've got down here, there's already a huge group of twitchers, and they're here walking along the riverbank, all binoculars and telescopes in hand, looking for the various different bird life that's on offer. I always think that's a really good sign. It's a good sign that there must be stuff here, because if the twitchers are here, they don't tend to go to places where there isn't anything. So fingers crossed we'll get some images for you. Do you want to just talk about what equipment you've got today, Pops?
Yeah, I've got me Nikon Z9 and my 800mm prime lens Z800 6.3. Have I got it right this time?
I think you have. I think it has a different f-stop every time you introduce it. I'll be using the Z9 with my 500mm prime also. And mine's with the FTZ adapter 2. So that I can use the F-mount lenses on it. And I have to say, because I've had a few people asking, F-mount glass on a Z9, no problem whatsoever. In fact, I would say it performs better than it did on my D500. So, you know, don't be afraid of purchasing one of the Z cameras. I know the new Z8 is coming out soon, and thinking that you've got to purchase all brand new glass. I think over the next sort of 10 years or so, I will transition my glass into Z glass, but you don't have to do that straight away. The F-mount glass works just fine with the Z9. The first thing that I do when you come down to wherever you're going to be photographing birds is to just pause. I think one of the things that happens when you arrive is you're not completely tuned into your surroundings, so get down to the area where you expect the subject to be, and then just pause. Just have a little pause and let kind of all the sounds and everything wash over you and get you to a position where you're tuned into your surroundings. Then once you're tuned into your surroundings, it's amazing how quickly you start to notice things that you didn't notice before. You're looking for movements in your periphery vision. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And then the other thing that we're looking for when we're photographing dippers is telltale signs of dippers. So the first thing that I start to look for is stones in the water which have got poo on them, because the dipper favours certain stones, and they'll wait on those stones and then they'll go under the water in search of their quarry. And before they do that, often they defecate on the rocks. So I'm always looking for stones that have got poo on them, and I've just found one straight away to the side of us here, which is a really good sign. So once we've found that, we've got the evidence that we need that there are dippers. I've obviously done my homework before we got here, and I've looked to see if there are dippers present on this river. I know what bird life is present, but there's a big difference between what websites and books report and what's actually there. So that's a really good starting point. So we're just going to start making our way slowly down the river now, really slowly, much slower than you would walk down a river, and every so often pausing, looking around, and at that point, that's usually the point that you see birds, because when you're walking down, you can walk right past them at your feet and not notice them. So it's important that you have those little pauses. So what Pops is doing right now is he's got his phone out, and he's not being antisocial and on social media. He's actually using his phone for a specific reason. Pops, you want to explain what you're doing?
Yeah, I've got a app here from Merlin, and it identifies bird sound. So when you hear a lot of different bird sounds, it's quite easy to get confused which bird is which. On this, it will actually identify all the birds that are singing, and it just helps me to know what kind of birds there are in the area. At the moment, it's just showing me that there is blue tit and great tit. But yesterday when we was up at the lodge, there was half a dozen different birds, including a cuckoo, jays, willow warble. It's a brilliant tool just to let you know what kind of birds they are. Obviously, if you're very clever and you know what all the bird songs are, you don't need it, but I'm not that clever.
This is not the easiest of terrain to be moving on. You've got to be really careful of your footing. Pops has switched to the high ground, where it's a little bit easier underfoot, and then he'll make his way back down if he gets sighting of a dipper. So Pops has just found our first dipper. It was on the far bank, just close to a little man-made weir. And Muggins here got a bit too close and frightened it away. That's unusual for me. I don't usually do that. I'm usually better than that. I think it was just a little bit too eager and too keen. But we've seen our first dipper. That means they're here. So we'll carry on and we'll see what we can find. Well, that was magical.
It certainly was.
One just flew up then. Not long after we'd last done the piece to camera, we got a little bit further down and there was one sat atop of a rock. And what you're always trying to aim for, and perhaps we could have got a little bit of a better shot, is to be as eye level as possible with the bird. Now we were up on the bank, but what was quite lucky was it was sat quite high on quite a protruding rock, and it stayed there for probably, I don't know, what do you think?
15-20 minutes.
Yeah, and I
know my arms were aching.
It was totally posing for us. It did its little bit of bobbing, although it didn't do a lot of that, to be honest with you. I was trying to get that on the video for you, but it sat and it just allowed us to take photographs. We kept the same distance, we didn't get any closer, and we've just got some really, really lovely photographs. Now, unusually, there is not a lot of light this morning. We got up for the early morning light, and typically there isn't any. For all those overseas viewers, this is what British photographers have to put up with, grey every day. So what I've done, and I know Pops has done exactly the same, is we've slowed our shutter speed right the way down. I went down to as low as a 30th of a second.
I went down to 15th.
There you go. So really, really slow shutter speeds. Now, we've got very big lenses. You know, I'm on a 500, Dad's on an 800, and we're both hand holding. You would never be able to get that slower shutter speed, but what we were able to do was to rest our camera on top of a rock, and to use that as kind of a base, and then to just put your hand on top of the lens, push down ever so slightly, and then to try and keep that stability. And hopefully that's allowed us to get some photographs, and possibly with a little bit of flow of the water behind it, which would be really, really nice. If we've got anything decent, we'll pop it up on the screen now for you to see.
I was going to say that one of the important things of that shot though was that the background wasn't busy. It was water, so the bokeh will be superb behind it.
Yeah. So that's dipper number 4, if we include the one that flew up. He's still over the way there. He was on this side of the river, and now it's pushed over to the other side. It's and just as we were photographing that one, I don't know whether it'll come across on the video in terms of the sound, a kingfisher just flew up the river. So it is really productive, this river, absolutely teeming with dipper. We have caught sight of a red start. I've got a photograph, but it's heavily cropped. I'll pop that up on the screen for you to see now. And then we've still got this lovely little dipper that's just going about, hunting away through the shallows of the water. So the dipper is the UK's only aquatic passerine. I think I've said that right, I might have not done. So what that means is it's in the same family as the likes of blackbirds, but it hunts for its prey, which tends to be caddis larvae and things like that under the water. And what you'll often see, and I have got some photographs of that, it dips its head under the water, looks underneath, and then it swims underneath the water to catch its prey, which is absolutely fantastic to see. I'd love to be able to put a GoPro where it goes under the water and catch it swimming under the water. I have seen footage of them swimming under the water, and they're absolutely fabulous. They also have oil on their feathers, which makes them waterproof and stops the feathers from becoming completely saturated with water. So what that means is sometimes when you're getting the photographs of them and the light catches them, you get what looks like a little bit of an oil slick on their feathers, which is incredible to see. This one's just hopping around and he's quite happy with me talking away to the camera. So I'm going to press on now and get some more photographs. So what we can see there is Pops. He's got himself into position lower from where the dipper was and waited for the dipper to come to him. And he's just getting some, hopefully some fantastic shots now with that 800mm lens. You get some good shots, Pops?
Yeah, I think so. Although there'll be a lot of failures, and it's nothing to do with the camera or technique. I've been trying to get a very slow shutter speed. So what I've done is I've focused on the bird, and then I've waited till it gets in a position that I'm looking for, then just keep my finger on the shutter release. And I may have taken, I don't know, maybe 100 photographs. Hopefully one of them will be when it's just absolutely still, and that'll be the one.
So we just pushed down probably perhaps 10 metres below where the dipper was hunting. I got into a position because there's a little bit of a shale beach here where I was laid down, water level, there was rocks in front of me that had just been perfect for it to land on. And then at the last minute it decided to fly back up the river to where we started. That's bird photography, and it Pops.
It certainly is. That's what makes it so exciting.
Oh, it's right here, it's coming back, it's coming back down. It's coming back down, we're going to go. So we've just had a really close encounter with the dipper, and then it looked to be coming right to where we wanted it to be, just in a little shallow pool in front of us, and at the very last minute it changed its mind and flew off, and we were dead still. There's no way it had seen us. Well, that is a first. I'm going to fess up right from the start, I've got no video, no photographs for you. But the lesser spotted woodpecker has just landed on the tree at the side of us. A fleeting moment. At first I thought it was a redstart because we can hear a redstart just above us in the tree. You can probably still hear it calling now. So we were just looking up into the canopy of the tree, and I saw a woodpecker, but a fraction of the size, only about, not much bigger than a sparrow. And that's a lesser spotted woodpecker. They're very, very small. They are Britain's smallest woodpecker. Absolutely beautiful. It looked very similar to the great spotted woodpecker, but miniature, which was just stunning to see. What do we look like in these jackets?
Right, pair of Nesbits.
Well, we're going to wrap the video up there. We've definitely had 4 or 5 encounters with dipper. We've seen a kingfisher on the water. We've seen a lesser spotted woodpecker, pied wagtail. Even saw some long-tailed tits at the end that were feeding on some spider webs and getting the spiders off them, which was fun to watch.
Redstart.
Oh yeah, redstart as well.
Yeah,
We've seen redstart. Oh, and there's 2 kite flying over the top of us, which leads us quite nicely onto what's coming next. So stay tuned, because this afternoon we are going to be photographing those. We're going to be at Gigrin Farm. We're at the low level hide, which we've not been in before. It's going to be quite a challenge, but hopefully we'll get some great shots for you. So if you've enjoyed this short video, please give it a like. If you've not yet subscribed, why not? Come on, get on board. Subscribers are climbing all the time, so I appreciate every single one of you who have subscribed. Those that haven't, please consider it. It doesn't hurt, and it doesn't cost you anything, but it does wonders for the channel. And until next time, ta-ra!
Ta-ra!